Welcome to Shout Out Patriots, where we never back down, we never sell out, and we never forget what made this country great. I'm Martin Moyer, your host and president of Christian Action Network. Now listen, before we delve into today's stories, let's take a moment to discuss something that's both exciting and intimidating: success. Episode 190, our Remember When episode, exploded out of the gate with over 1,700 downloads on day one. That's not just good. That's a home run derby performance. But with success comes a strange new pressure, because once you've knocked 4 homers out of the park, stepping up to the plate again feels different. The crowd expects fireworks, and you're left wondering, can we do it again? We're still digging through the why. Was it the nostalgia, the raw honesty, the emotional punch, the title, all of it? Perhaps it struck a nerve, or maybe it reminded people of something they didn't even know they were missing. Either way, we're back, and we're not slowing down. The news cycle this week may not have handed us a golden ticket story, but don't worry. We've still got truth to tell, battles to fight, and freedom to defend. So grab a cup of coffee or your favorite American-made brew, because we've got a show to run. Last week, we asked you to remember when America made sense. This week, we're asking if you've been punked by reality itself, because I'm telling you, if someone handed me today's headlines in a Hollywood script, I'd throw it in the trash and say, too unrealistic. Nobody's going to buy it. But this is where we are. Pride flags replacing the American flag during the national anthem. A high school banning a Bible club for having, get this, too much Bible. New York seniors getting shoved, slashed, and stomped while the system shrugs. And Antifa thugs beating reporters senseless while the media calls it peaceful. Welcome to episode 191 of Shout Out Patriots. You can't make this stuff up. All right, I wasn't going to blow a gasket this early in the show, but here we are. The New York Mets. You know, baseball, America's pastime, a sport that used to celebrate hot dogs, small-town values, and the good old stars and stripes. Well, not anymore. A couple of weeks ago, in a game against the Tampa Bay Rays, right as fans rose to sing our national anthem, the Mets, in all their woke glory, proudly displayed not the American flag, but the gay pride flag on the big screen. During the national anthem, that's right, instead of the red, white, and blue symbol of our republic, they pushed a rainbow propaganda flag designed to reprogram American loyalty to gay and lesbian allegiance. This was deliberate manipulation. They took the anthem, a song born in the fire of battle for our national survival, and twisted it into a loyalty oath, not to America, but to a sexually blowhard political movement. Yes, the innuendo was absolutely intended. The flag is meant to unify us, to remind us of our shared identity as Americans. But the Mets didn't want unity. They wanted compliance, submission, and enlistment. They wanted to taunt fans into championing the gay rights movement while swapping out the very symbol the song was written to honor. And yes, fans were furious. One wrote, "Boycott the MLB." Another called it shameful. And they're right. It's disgraceful. But this is the new playbook. Swap symbols, rewrite meanings, and condition you to go along with it, even during your national anthem. Yeah, you can't make this crap up. Moving on. Can you believe this? Over in Los Angeles, Dodgers players were forced to wear caps with rainbow-colored logos during Pride celebration. Apparently, when you sign with this team, you also sign a spiritual waiver. But one man, and God bless him, refused to bow. Clayton Kershaw, a devout Christian, took that rainbow cap and quietly added Genesis 9:12-16 to it. That's the Bible verse that reminds us the rainbow belongs to God, not to gender activists. It's a sign of mercy, not marketing, a covenant, not a campaign. And just like that, Kershaw became a hero, a quiet one, a respectful one, but a hero nonetheless. Because while the league demanded compliance and tribute, Kershaw gave testimony. Of course, the online rage mob didn't like that. "Stick to sports," they shouted, which is rich, coming from the same people who shoved drag shows into baseball stadiums and plaster rainbow slogans across every jersey and jumbotron. They never stick to sports unless a Christian speaks up. Then hypocrisy, a contagion the left drinks and vomits with pride. And yes, I mean that both ways, spews all over social media. Folks, we are watching a bait and switch in real time. The left doesn't want freedom. They want submission. They don't want inclusion. They want indoctrination. They'll take your anthem, your holidays, your symbols, your kids, and dare you to say a word. Well, here's a word, no. And here's another, enough. God bless Clayton Kershaw. And shame on the Dodgers for turning a sport beloved by millions into a platform for forced allegiance and moral coercion. This was supposed to be baseball, not Babel. You can't make this stuff up. And yet here we are. If you thought the Constitution still applied to Christian kids in public schools, brace yourself for this tidbit that will have you shaking your head and clenching your fists. At Carmel High School in New York, a 9th grade student named Jenna had the crazy idea, are you ready? To start a Bible club. She called it the Good News Club because, well, the gospel is good news. And she got permission from the school to form the group. So she put up some posters. Simple stuff. A friendly invitation, a few uplifting Bible verses, a cross, and an open call for all students to attend. And how did school officials respond? They tore them down. Why? Because according to the administration, her posters had too many Bible verses. I mean, imagine that. A Bible club that references the Bible? And they didn't stop there. They told Jenna she couldn't call it the Good News Club. That name was too religious, too threatening, too, I don't know, encouraging. So, the school forced her to rename her club, strip her posters of all religious imagery, take out every scripture reference, and even get the designs pre-approved by school authorities. Cross? Gone. Bible verses? Gone. Anything that smelled like Christianity? Erased. The message from the school was crystal clear. You can have your little Bible club, but don't you dare talk about the Bible. Now, I'm no Bible thumper, but a good thumping on someone's head, be it with a Bible or a school ruler, could drive some sense into these school officials. Listen, Patriots, this is discrimination, plain and simple, dressed up in bureaucratic doublespeak, and it's illegal. 35 years ago, the Supreme Court ruled in Board of Education versus Mergens that public schools cannot discriminate against student-led religious groups. Period. That means Christian kids have the same rights as chess clubs, LGBTQ groups, anime societies, or Dungeons and Dragons clubs. But apparently, Carmel High School didn't get the memo, or maybe they just don't care. Because in today's climate, you can wave a rainbow flag in the hallway. You can host a drag queen in the auditorium. But mention the name of Jesus? Now we've got a problem. Thank God for the American Center for Law and Justice, which is now defending Jenna and demanding the school reverse its blatant, unconstitutional censorship. This isn't just about one brave 9th grader and her Bible club. It's about every Christian student being told that their faith is offensive, that it must be hidden, sanitized, silenced, and torn down. That's not neutrality. That's a gag order for public schools. But let me tell you, this is precisely why we can't back down. We need more kids like Jenna. We need more lawyers like the ACLJ. And we need more parents willing to say, if the school won't defend my child's rights, I will. You can't make this stuff up, but we can stand up to it. If there's one thing that should be unthinkable, one line even the most hardened criminal should never cross, it's this: you don't beat up grandma. But welcome to New York City, where beating up the elderly has become so common, the NYPD has recorded over 1,200 felony assaults on seniors so far this year. That's double what it was in 2019. Let me say that again, double. And it's not just an alarming stat. These are real people, frail, vulnerable, and often alone, being punched, slashed, kicked down subway stairs, and left bleeding. Take your pick of horror stories. A 66-year-old woman had her head smashed in with a golf club. An 86-year-old woman was shoved face first into a pole and had her teeth shattered. A 72-year-old woman was kicked down a staircase by a total stranger. A 67-year-old man was slashed in the head with a knife while riding the train, and an 80-year-old man was shoved onto a subway track, shattering his hip. The perps in all these crimes were total strangers. These aren't drug turf wars or gang violence. These are random, unprovoked attacks on elderly people who dared to walk outside in their own city. One 87-year-old woman even said her son had to hire an escort so she could take a walk outside. Think about that. Your mom can't even go out for fresh air without a bodyguard in New York City. The police are doing their part. They've made arrests in 78% of the cases, and more than half of the suspects had previous arrests, to no one's surprise. But here's the problem. They're right back on the streets. Because we live in a system where criminals get second chances, third chances, and sometimes 20th chances. But grandma gets a concussion, missing teeth, and, in some cases, a casket. And the response from city leaders? A shrug and a press release. This is what happens when you stop punishing evil and start making excuses for it. This is what happens when you replace moral clarity with social theory. This is what happens when progressive prosecutors, activist judges, and spineless politicians treat crime like an abstract experiment instead of a blood-soaked reality. How's this for an idea, New York? Instead of turning grandmas into shut-ins, how about we turn these grandma-bashing criminals into shut-ins in a jail cell next to a Hannibal Lecter? They might find out the hard way what an unprovoked attack feels like. I mean, if we can't make this stuff up, can we at least give this one a nudge? All right, get ready because this one for my final segment is a real head spinner. Two independent journalists, Cameron Higby and Brandy Cruz, were physically assaulted in Seattle by far-left extremists while covering a No Kings protest. But here's the kicker. The local media not only ignored the attacks, they claimed it was peaceful. Cameron, who's covered violent protests before, was choked out, punched with sap gloves, those are gloves loaded with lead or steel, and kicked in the face. He said Antifa was stopping drivers and demanding they say F ICE, and if they didn't, they would light fires under their cars. After the vicious beating, he was left with a concussion, nausea, dizziness, and ringing in his ears. And then, because Antifa thought a black Jeep nearby was his, they destroyed an innocent guy's car. He says if a friend hadn't pulled the attacker off him, he might not have survived. Meanwhile, Brandy Cruz, a seasoned reporter with a long journalistic track record, was mobbed, punched, soaked, and sprayed in the face with a bug killer. And not any old bug killer, but hornet killer. That's a chemical designed to drop a wasp out of the sky and can cause eye damage, chemical burns, vomiting, and damage to the heart and other organs. One of Brandy's rescuers, an Army veteran, was knocked down and stomped by 6 or 7 Antifa members. She had to flee in a stranger's car while Antifa pelted it with projectiles. And yet, the Seattle Times published a report stating that everything was peaceful. So let me get this straight. Journalists are choked, punched, kicked, stomped, sprayed, chased, and nearly blinded. And the media decides to paint this as a Norman Rockwell picture, like it was just a bunch of friendly neighbors gathered for a 4th of July potluck. Not a street gang in black masks throwing fists and poison. You can't make this stuff up. These reporters weren't targeted because they were fascists. They were targeted because they were exposing the truth. And in Seattle, where Antifa operates like a protected species, the truth is now a dangerous occupation. Cameron said the Seattle police were likely ordered not to intervene. Cruz says this wasn't her first time being assaulted, but it was decidedly the worst. This is what it looks like when violent radicals take the streets and the press and politicians hand them the keys. And the worst part, they know they can get away with it because the only people who will report the truth are the ones getting punched in the face. If this had happened at a Trump rally, if right-wingers had chased down and assaulted 2 journalists with chemical spray and brass knuckles, the headlines would be nuclear. But when Antifa does it, it's just another beach blanket. Gandhi, Saturday in Seattle. You can't make this stuff up, and you better believe they're counting on you to stop paying attention. And that wraps up this episode of Shout Out Patriots, where the news is so crazy, we could only hope we're making this stuff up. But unfortunately, we're not. From pride flags replacing the American flag, to Bible clubs being banned for mentioning the Bible, to Antifa thugs beating journalists while the media smiles and nods. It's clear we're not just in a culture war. We're in a battle for reality itself. If this episode made you laugh, made you mad, or just made you think, do us a favor and share it. Word of mouth is still more powerful than any algorithm, and we need your help to keep this show growing and reaching new patriots every week. And if you're not already subscribed to my Substack, now's the time. Just search for Martin Moyer or Majority Report. You'll find me there. It's completely free to join, and you'll get access to all my writings along with alerts for every new podcast episode we release. We're in this fight together. So until next time, stand strong, speak the truth, and shout out, Patriots.